Today, we would like to share with you the story of the mysterious death of a top model. At the center of this story is hair. The hair is extremely beautiful and long. Ruslana Korshunova was a Kazakhstani-born Russian supermodel. She established herself as a rising figure in the fashion industry by posing for magazines including Vogue and designers such as Vera Wang and Nina Ricci. Korshunova's unexpected death, under unexplained circumstances, became a long-time controversial subject of international attention. Ruslana Korshunova was born in Almaty, Kazakh SSR. Her father, Sergei Korshunov, died in 1992 when she was 5 years old. Her mother Valentina and her elder brother Ruslan live in Kazakhstan. With different degrees of fluency, she spoke Russian, Kazakh, English, and German. She was discovered in 2003 when All Asia magazine printed a story on Almaty's local German language club, which Korshunova was then attending. Her photograph, which was featured in the article, caught the attention of Debbie Jones of Models 1. Jones tracked down and signed up the then 15-year-old Korshunova, who was nicknamed the Russian Rapunzel for her knee-length chestnut hair in her early work. Korshunova was represented by IMG New York, Paris, London and Milan, 8 Beatrice Milan, Traffic Models Barcelona, Marilyn Model Agency and De Casting Moscow, which was her mother agency. British Vogue hailed Korshunova as a face to be excited about in 2005. Korshunova modeled for the covers of French Elle and the Russian version of Vogue. She also modeled in print ads for Nina Ricci, Blugel by Bloomerang, Clarins, Ghost, Gerbo, Kenzo Accessories, Marith and Frenoise, Max Studio, Moschino, Old England, Pantene Always Smooth, Paul Smith and Vera Wang. Ruslana's mother was also happy and contented. "I used to think that modeling was debauchery and danger," Valentina recalled, "but I was invited to Paris. They drove in a black BMW with honor. I saw all the nuances of filming. It turned out that all this is nonsense. My daughter was completely safe." On June 28, 2008, at around 2:30 p.m., Korshunova died after falling from the 9th-floor balcony of her apartment at 130 Water Street in the financial district of Manhattan, USA. Police stated there were no signs of a struggle in her apartment and concluded that Korshunova's death was an apparent suicide. One of Korshunova's friends stated that she had just returned from a modeling job in Paris, noting that she seemed to be on top of the world with no apparent reason why she would commit suicide. Korshunova planned to celebrate her 21st birthday on Wednesday in Pennsylvania. Korshunova's former boyfriend, Artem Pachenik, stated that he dropped Korshunova off at her apartment several hours before her death after they watched the Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore Ghost. "I feel that she came to say goodbye," said Pachenik. "She was a good person," he added to the New York Post. However, Korshunova appeared broken-hearted and angry in some of her postings on a social networking site. Korshunova's most telling message came in March 2008. "I'm so lost. Will I ever find myself?" Experts did not find any traces of someone else's skin underneath her nails. Korshunova's mother, Valentina Kutenkova, does not believe in her daughter's suicide. "She told me about her work problems about a year ago. She said that she wanted to quit the modeling business. Everything was fine with her recently though. If she had problems at work, she would have told me," she said. The investigation into Ruslana's death lasted about a year. The official conclusion is suicide, falling out of the window, although the guards did not find a suicide note, and relatives did not find a reason for Korshunova's death after all. She was cheerful, making plans, so strong. However, they also record strange things. For example, that the body was too far from the building a person could fall out of a window at such a distance either by running away or with someone else's help. This fact was expressed and subsided, remaining without attention, as well as other guesses and notes that turned Ruslana's death into a tangle that could not be unraveled. Why and how did Ruslana Korshunova die? There is no exact answer to this question, but there are many versions. The girl died for days before her own birthday. The official version is suicide, but relatives refuse to believe. There are too many gaps in this gloomy story. Mohammed Nakib, a concierge who worked in Korshunova's building, stated, "I was shocked when I saw her on the pavement. She was on the road, small and pitiful, in a puddle of blood, surrounded by a crowd. Her arms and neck were broken," the man said. Nakib was immediately suspicious. "Only next day, I realized what was wrong. It was her hair. It was much shorter than when I last saw her that night, lively and happy. It seemed like it was cut in a hurry since the ends were uneven. Moscow mortician Sergey, who worked on her makeup in a Moscow morgue, stated, "All I got is a polite thank you." But nobody called me for an interview. Teehee hair could fall out because of a strong impact, but it could not become shorter. When I was preparing the body for a funeral, I noticed that the hair was in a very poor condition. I even offered to find her a wig, but her relatives refused. The ends were uneven, as if someone had cut it with scissors. According to the testimony of many witnesses, no strangers or suspicious people were noticed on the day of Korshunova's death in her building on Water Street. The back exit in the yard is visible to the concierge, and nobody could pass by the reception unnoticed. During her last visit, Korshunova's mother stopped at the apartment. According to Korshunova's friends, Valentina spent several hours at the door of the apartment. She is still hoping to find the answer from the local police. On July 7, 2008, Korshunova was buried at Kovenskoye Cemetery in Moscow. Her mother stated to Russian newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda that the Russian capital was one of her daughter's favorite cities, and that she would want her beloved Moscow to be her last resting place. British TV producer and filmmaker Peter Pomerantsev has theorized that Korshunova's suicide was related to her involvement with Rose of the World, a controversial Moscow-based organization which describes itself as training for personality development. While researching for a documentary into Korshunova's death, Pomerantsev learned that the model spent 3 months attending training sessions at Rose of the World. These sessions, which encourage participants to share their worst experiences and recall repressed memories, are modeled after Lifespring, whose controversial methods were the subject of multiple lawsuits for mental damages in the arts during the 1980s. Korshunova attended training sessions with a friend, Ukrainian model Anastasia Drozdova, who committed suicide under similar circumstances in 2009. Friends of the two women reported changes in behavior after several months at the Rose. Korshunova became aggressive, while Drozdova experienced violent mood swings and grew reclusive. Both lost weight. After 3 months of training, Korshunova returned to New York to look for work, where she wrote of feeling lost and doubting herself. Rick Allen Ross, head of the Cult Education Forum, argues that organizations such as Rose of the World work like drugs, giving you peak experiences, their adherents always coming back for more. His serious problems start when people leave. The trainings have become their lives. They come back to emptiness. The sensitive ones break. Only months after leaving the Rose, Korshunova was found dead. The real causes of Ruslana Korshunova's death are still unknown, and it is quite possible that the mystery of this tragedy will never be revealed. And Russian Rapunzel will forever remain in the history of fashion the same girl with an apple from the fabulous Nina Ricci advertisement. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments and subscribe to our channel so as not to miss new stories.